G'day and welcome back to my Coral Island series. And here we are starting off week 2 on day 9 because I did do an extra day on the last episode. Just starting off with watering the plants here. Next order of business was to head into town. I gave Yuki a tulip that I'd found earlier and she couldn't eat it, so she didn't like it, which, fair. I handed in all of the bugs that I'd found the previous day, and in town I ran into Archie, who's one of the children on the island. I went down the beach, picked up some of the rubbish, and headed to the diving area where I met Ling. Ling had a bit of a job for me, and she told me to activate some orbs under the water and gave me a little bot to assist me under the sea. And there is a lot of trash down in this ocean, but it is time to get to work, cleaning up rubbish, gathering kelp, and of course, activating orbs. And this is what the orbs look like when they've been activated. You do have to clear the path for them, but it's pretty spectacular once you finally do it and the orb fully activates. And I thought I would include the full clip here of the orb doing its thing because I just think it's gorgeous. The special effects, attention to detail here, once again, absolutely superb. Doing a bit more rubbish cleanup, I actually found this cool chest under here that had scuba snacks, which will be useful later on. Just activating a second orb here, and this will show what it actually does in terms of unblocking the areas, and how cool is that little slithery effect as the vines clear away. And pretty soon after I found my third orb, decided to have a little snack while I waited for it to do its thing. Maybe a couple of snacks. And I thought it was really good here that the bot gives you a warning when your stamina's low, because that can be a real pitfall in games like this. Just whacking away at trees or rubbish in this case and don't notice that your stamina's low, so it's nice to have a little pop-up warning. And I did end up going pretty low on stamina, but I actually timed out. It ends the diving sequence at around 11 PM. I think that's the latest you can go with that. Now, I would actually say not to sell your sort of first haul of underwater clams and shells and whatnot. Leveled up in diving though, which is super helpful. I can make scuba snacks now. And day 10 was the Cherry Blossom Festival. Also started with Surya at my door. He told me all about the kelp system and gave me a blueprint to make an extractor for the kelp. And of course, harvesting and watering my plants before heading off to the festival area. And this is where my sound cuts out because I had a bit of an issue with recording. But that's fine, I'll just talk through it and hopefully it's not too bad without the sound effects. But while that's happening, please comment down below. I want to know your favourite part of the Cherry Blossom Festival. I really enjoyed just talking to all of the townies and learning a little bit more about them. And of course, the visuals are once again stunning. I know I keep saying that, but look at that. Like, how cute. Thankfully, by the time I found the balap karung, my sound issue had resolved properly. And honestly, I really appreciate the ability to practice, because as you can see, you can literally fall flat on your face quite a lot of times. But it is a really interesting minigame, and yeah, I didn't do too badly in this first race. Got off to a really good start. And then fell over once or twice, which means I didn't win, but, can't win everything. And you certainly can't win a lot with that kind of performance, can you? Falling over so many times, ended up coming last in the second race, but that's all good. It was a really fun day. Unfortunately, the potluck event isn't quite ready yet. That's all good. It was a fun day, and you end up back at your farm at around 9 o'clock. It's starting up day 11 now, and we've got something in the mail. Sam has something to tell me about local produce, which unironically sounds fascinating, but I've got to water my plants first. And of course do some more clearing on my farm. I've sort of been trying to do a little bit every day just so I don't spend all of my energy in one day. And donating some of the underwater critters that I'd found the day before. And the little cutscene sequence here with Sam is pretty cool. He sells a lot of imported produce, but he would prefer to sell the stuff that I grow. So Sam sets me a task to ship a bunch of bronze tier vegetables, which I need a lot of seeds for. Thankfully I can afford a few. And heading a little bit west into town to just have a talk with people. I'm not 100% sure what relationship effect that has, but you know, anything I can do to get to know the town folk before I do a bit more diving. And you can see here where I've cleared the rubbish, a lot of seaweed has grown in its place, and also a bunch of kelp has actually grown, which you'll see. But I go about activating some more orbs, and I honestly never get tired of seeing the effect that the orb has. And like the little sparkly bits that come off the coral and other parts of the reef after. And as you can see, that was my 5th orb, which means I can go visit Ling at the lab and talk about our discoveries. I actually didn't end up seeing her until I think day 15, which I sort of regret, but this is my first playthrough, so you know, you live and learn. Stashing all of my goodies at the end of the day and heading to bed, I level up in diving, which means I can now make a recycling machine, which will be very useful. I also upgraded my diving skills to get more kelp. And I was pretty keen to make a recycling machine and get going recycling my rubbish into scrap. I also wanted to make some fertilizer so I could really start fulfilling that request from Sam. And also expanding my fields so that I could actually plant all of the seeds that I'd bought yesterday, because I'd bought quite a lot. I'm putting down my 2 bits of fertilizer. And I've got so much trash, but don't worry, there will be other ways to use it. I also managed to make a kelp extractor, which will be useful in upgrading seeds. And once again, going diving, it's really quite fun. Now, it is at this point that I realise I left my scythe at home, so I've actually got to use some of these vortex bombs that I'd made to clear rubbish and kelp. So pro tip, always make sure you've got your scythe on you for when you go diving. But I at least got some more seaweed out of those vortex machines. Failing to catch another bug, but I got a tulip as a consolation prize at least. And meeting not 1, but 2 cats, Peanut and Butter, which are just gorgeous names. I made sure to grab my scythe back into my inventory before setting about with some more clearing. I was hoping to pick up a few more tree seeds and pine cones and whatnot. But you know what, clearing some of this trash actually gave me a little bit of compost so that I can make more fertilizer. But as you can tell, my stamina's getting quite low, so just going to go about organising my inventory. Making another vortexinator and some more fertilizer, which I immediately place on my farm in random spots because I can't actually remember what seeds I've planted. Day 13 starts with me harvesting some crops that had actually grown a bit quicker due to my upgrade. And of course going about watering the rest of my crops, which is starting to take a little bit longer now that I have more of them. Already seeing quite a lot of scrap from recycling, which is really nice. Now here I'm trying to see if I can get any coconuts. Unfortunately not, but you know what? It's time to go diving. Letting the vortexinator do a little bit of the work for me while I gather some more seaweed. And here I found an ornate coffer, which I was hoping to get cracked open, but unfortunately the blacksmith was closed. So I went to the lab, which was also closed. Thankfully, Sam's was open and I managed to buy a few more seeds. Then ran home to get them planted and watered. And that night I leveled up to level 2 in farming, which means I can craft the compost bin, the sprinkler, and the Flash 1 fertilizer. This time I upgraded my chance to get a double crop, and I also received a bit of a present from the Farmers Guild, which was nice. And selling some of my cauliflowers, and of course making sure to water every single crop except one of them, which I only noticed while editing this, and it is haunting me. But I've made 2 compost bins here, which are going to be super duper useful in helping me make fertilizer, and also to use up some of that trash that I've found around the place. Ran around doing a bit of foraging before heading down into the diving spot again. This time I actually remembered my scythe, which is important. Ended up collecting a bunch of seaweed that had grown back, and of course some of the kelp had grown back, so it's a really nice renewable resource there. And I ended up exhausting all of my stamina, but I was able to get back home before it was too late, deposit some duplicates that I'd found, and pick up my compost and turn it into fertilizer. And this is me running past the 1 tile that I hadn't watered to fill my can. And that's the end of week 2 of my Coral Island adventure. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.